Hey my friends, we're a little bit deeper into the woods now, and I'm going to use a quieter voice because our friend Beatrice, the porcupine, might be really close by. This tumble of rocks is making a really good home for our porcupine friends. And one of the ways that Patti knows that Beatrice, or a porcupine, has been here recently is if we look really closely down here, we can see a whole bunch of porcupine quills. So that's a really good clue. And I can peek all the way down under that rock and see even more quills. I'm going to ask my friend Patti if she minds if I pick a quill up out of there. Patti, would that be okay, or is it better to not reach in there right now?
I think you could pick up one of the quills right on the outside.
Okay.
And that would be fine.
So my friends, in case you didn't know what I meant when I said quill, right here is a porcupine quill that we just found here at the entrance to this den. I'm going to set it down and have a quiet seat and see if we're lucky enough for Beatrice to come out and say hello to us. Hey my friends, I see even more porcupine quills down there, and I can see some fur that's stuck on some of the rocks and sticks. But I don't see Beatrice yet. Maybe she went out the back door. I think I'll check down that way.
The snow is not quite fresh enough to see if she's home or not. We'll look around this side and see if there are any tracks that show where she went. These are beautiful little tracks that show a porcupine heading that direction, away from that entrance. But here is the track going that way. And now you can see all this porcupine fur on the snow. She's probably starting to shed. So one thing you can notice just by looking at the tracks is that they've got broad, flat feet and long toenails. If we had a really good footprint, you could see that there's a pebbling pattern on the bottom of their feet, like the bottom of your footy pajamas, for better traction.
There's one here that has some better shows the nails, but not really seeing that pebbly pattern in the snow.
Hey, welcome to some classic porcupine habitat right here. Winter habitat, that is. We're standing underneath all of these hemlock trees, but what you'll really notice is if you look down, you'll see the ground is covered with these branches that are still nice and green. We call these nip twigs, and this is evidence of porcupine feeding in winter. And if you look closely, you'll see where some of the buds have been nipped off and some of the needles have been shortened. So the porcupines reach out with their claws and pull the branch back and nip it off with their very sharp teeth. Feed on it for a little while and then drop it. And this also creates a great feeding opportunity for things like deer and snowshoe hare that can't climb trees. So yeah. When you see something like this, you know you're in winter porcupine land.
Hey friends, we are still out here on our adventure looking for Beatrice, who we have not found yet, but we did find another den. Take a look at this one. It is so different than the last place that we stopped. The last one was a tumble of rocks, and this one is an old rotten log. And the way that we know it's a porcupine den is there's all kinds of porcupine scat right at the base of it. All of these are porcupine poop. And another sign that I'm seeing here as evidence of a porcupine den is right here. I see another porcupine quill. Do you see that right there, my friends? There we go. Another little bit of evidence are all of these twigs right here that are nipped off. Do you see this right here, how that's chewed? This one here is probably the best example. And you might remember the kind of tree this is a hemlock. Do you see those nice flat needles and the light color on the back? So even though we haven't seen Beatrice or any of her friends, we have seen a lot of signs of porcupines on our expedition today.
Actually, Joan, there's one of her friends up there now.
Oh my gosh, way up high. It looks like a bump on a branch.
Hello, porcupine.
Any chance of him coming down to visit?
Only if it's Beatrice. Only if it's Beatrice. I've known this little porcupine for 2 years. She was just a baby when I met her last year. So she's almost 2, and usually she comes out to say hello when I stop by to visit. We'll see. It takes her a few minutes, and it's the morning. Porcupines are nocturnal, which means it's sleepy time for her. We'll see if she'll come out and visit with us, though. Hey, bee, are you home? Hey, little bee. This is a friendly noise that porcupines make to greet each other. Hey, bee. Maybe. Maybe.
I am thinking about all of the different adaptations that a porcupine has. And I'm wondering if you can just talk to us about a few of them.
Well, you see this crazy hairdo she has? All these long hairs on the top of her head? Maybe. Those are how she feels her way through the world. She has terrible eyesight, but those are all whiskers so she can sense what's around her. That is one adaptation. And you see all that nice fluffy black fur she has? It's very, very warm. You might even think she doesn't have quills this time of year, but they're in there. They're all in that thick woolly fur. And now that she's eating that biscuit, you can see her long claws. And you also get a sense of how good she is at handling things, like acorns and nuts. So she can pick them right up and hold them while she uses her very sharp teeth to bite through the shell.
So sharp teeth and sharp claws.
And sharp quills.
Got it.
You are sharp. You are sharp, Bee.
And Patty, something else I'm thinking about is where we just found Beatrice. So she came waddling out of this rock outcropping. But sometimes I've seen porcupines way up high in trees.
Isn't it crazy to think an animal that's built like this climbs trees?
Yes.
Yes, this chubby little beastie is a very good climber. And when she turns around, you will see one of the best tools she has for climbing. It's her tail. Porcupines have very, very strong tails, and they can wrap them around things, and they can use them as a fifth leg.
Wow.
When they sit up like she's doing right now. Hello, Bee. She's sitting back on her tail like it's the third leg on a stool. And when she's going up trees, it's a brace that keeps her from sliding back down the tree.
Wow, that with her sharp claws must make her an excellent tree climber.
She is. She's not graceful and quick like a squirrel, but she sure can get up and down.
And what is the very bottom of her paws like?
It looks like the pebbly surface on feety pajamas.
And is that helpful in climbing as well?
Oh, yes. It really helps her grip the tree. Porcupines have a lot to say. They let you know when they're unhappy.
What do they sound like when they're unhappy, Patty?
I'm afraid to say it because I think Beatrice might take offense. Give it a try. They say,
Absolutely.
She doesn't care. But when they're feeling friendly and happy, they say, And when I say that, when Beatrice is around, it usually makes her relax. She hasn't said it back to me yet, but someday.
That'll feel good when that happens.
Yes, it will.
So thinking about Beatrice's ability to climb trees so well and to hide in such small spaces as this rock outcropping and having those very sharp quills, I can't imagine who would be a predator for a porcupine.
Beatrice has it pretty good. She doesn't even really need to be in that cave to be safe. She goes in there in the winter, mostly to stay warm. Although, when she's sleeping, it is a good idea to have her little nose tucked into a rock cranny, because that's the one place where a predator could bite her. No quills on her little nose. There is one predator that lives in these woods that does occasionally eat porcupines, and that's the fisher. But the fishers in these woods seem to have enough other things to eat. They tend to leave the porcupines alone.
Because I would imagine even for a fisher, this is risky business.
Oh my goodness, yes. So all of those quills and all those other kinds of prickles make her a fairly trusting animal, and that's why she's letting us get this close to her.
Right. Right, she has some excellent defenses if she started to feel nervous around us.
That's right.
Okay.
I think she's a little bit sleepy. This is the time when she should still be in bed. Porcupines are nocturnal, so she's going to get up a little bit later and go off and climb a hemlock tree and eat some hemlock needles.
So is she on kind of the same schedule as a beaver?
She is. She's on the same schedule as a beaver. Yep. Porcupines only stay in caves during the winter. Pretty soon she's just going to head off into the forest, and we won't know where to find her until next winter.
Wow.
She'll mostly be up trees or just eating things on the ground. It's also possible that sometime soon Bee might have a baby porcupine.
Gosh.
Do you know what baby porcupines are called?
Porcupine.
That's right. If she does, it will be born with its eyes open and fur and little quills that will get hard within an hour or two.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Patti, have you ever petted a porcupine?
I have a few times. I raise a lot of different kinds of orphan baby animals. And one thing that's funny about porcupines is they don't really like to be patted and cuddled the way other babies do. I think it's just too tickly with all of those long whiskery feelers that they have and that they use to feel their way around the world. Anytime you touch them and they're not expecting it, they kind of just shiver all over and turn away.
Kind of overstimulating.
Overstimulating. But when you're playing with a baby porcupine and it's wrestling, it doesn't mind if you run your hand along its back. Kind of likes it because it likes to be tickled.
Patti, can you tell us about how you and Beatrice met each other?
Well, I have gotten to know a lot of porcupines that live in these woods because some of them I've raised and released, so I like to try and keep track of where they might be. So in the winter, when they're living in dens, I follow porcupine tracks to dens, and I knock on the door and say, "Hello, are you a porcupine that I know?" And I did that at Beatrice's house a few times, and then I went and said, "Hello, anyone in there I know?" And she came out. She wasn't anyone I knew, but now we know each other.
Now you're friends.
Porcupines, unlike beavers and a lot of other animals we think of, squirrels and chickadees, each porcupine looks different. They have a distinctive appearance like we do, so you can recognize their little porcupine faces. But then there's also the behavior. If they say, "Oh, hello, Patti," and come over and climb up on your lap, then you can be pretty sure that it's one of the ones you raised. A lot of people think that porcupines can shoot their quills.
I have heard that myth.
Yep. That is not true. You have to actually come in contact with a porcupine to get quills in you. And what's more, the quills don't really come out unless the porcupine raises them up because it senses danger.
Right.
So if you were to pat Beatrice right now, the quills wouldn't come out. Although, that said, the minute you touch her, she would be startled and would raise her quills.
Right.
So just stay away from her tail and you'll be okay. Because they'll swing their tail around and that could swat you, but
It's a delicate
perfectly-
dance.
You are perfectly safe sitting right there with little Beatrice.
Well, I don't feel nervous by her at all. Her fur looks so soft and cozy that there's a temptation to reach out and pet her.
I've heard that porcupines have a lot of other ways to communicate that they don't want you near them before there'd be an encounter with their quills. Is that true?
That is true, and I'm surprised she hasn't demonstrated any of those right now because maybe she's just too relaxed. They'll chatter their teeth, and they also, after they raise their quills up, you'll smell this very nice piney aroma that they use to say, "Hey, porcupine here, watch your step, porcupine." And when she turns around and you see that patch on her back that's not all fluffy, but it's very quilly, that's the area that the scent comes from. And it travels right up those quills and out into the air so you can really get a good whiff of it.
So the scent actually is emitted through the quills.
through little glands at the bottom of the quills.
Of the quills, got it. Sorry to be talking about so many personal things, Beatrice. You're quite accommodating on our initial visit.
Yes.
Something else I'm noticing, Patti, about Beatrice is that even though she's not black, but her brown is very dark, and her quills have so much white in them, and it's this black and white pattern on them.
Oh, yes, that's another warning sign.
Hmm.
Just like a skunk. Porcupine's black and white coloration, especially in the back, is another way that anything traveling at night might be able to see the porcupine and register that as a warning.
Beatrice, thanks so much for this visit.
You going back to bed? She's not choosing the easiest way to go in, but porcupines never do. Night, night, Beatrice.
If you have enjoyed this video, please visit our website to learn more about what we do and consider making a donation.